So in today's video, we're going to be asking the question, how many Cardano do you need to own in order to retire in 2025? Now, if it's your first time here, my name is Ryan. This is the No Autopilot YouTube channel. Okay, this is not financial advice. I'm just some dude on the internet who likes making content about crypto, and I'm passionate about it. I enjoy doing deep dives and research, but by no means should you trust me or any other person on YouTube talking about crypto. Do your own research, invest wisely, all that good stuff. Now, Cardano has a little bit of a run going. Okay, so back in September, they went ahead and had their Alonzo hard fork get executed, and that gave them the ability to finally start to execute smart contracts, which is the predecessor to seeing a whole bunch of dApps built out and total value lock flying into Cardano. So I have DeFi Llama pulled up right here, and we can see starting in January 20th, we had a couple apps come live, and so far they've seen about $100 million in total value lock flow into these dApps. We also have to keep in mind that Cardano was only launched back in 2017 in comparison to its main competitor Ethereum, which was launched back in 2015. So if you gave Cardano 2 more years where it is today, how much closer could it be to Ethereum? Ethereum's ecosystem is booming. It has the network effects of being a first mover in the space, the first one to develop smart contracts. And because of that, there's a ton of developers on it building dApps, building protocols. And they've also seen a ton of investment flow into both Ethereum as well as all those sidechain projects, level 2 scaling projects, all the dApps that are building on Ethereum itself. Let's talk about why Cardano is a little bit different than Ethereum. And the first stop along understanding that is the layers. Cardano uses 2 layers to go ahead and process transactions. One is the settlement layer, moving Cardano, moving ADA, and the other one is the computational layer. And because they're separate, they go ahead and they kind of divvy up the workload, and it makes it much faster, much more scalable. Whereas Ethereum is running all that on one single layer. Hence why they need layer 2 solutions. Now, in addition to that, Cardano uses a proof of stake model, and proof of stake is all the rage. One, because it's more environmentally friendly. You don't have to have a giant mining machine mining blocks and producing blocks like you do on Ethereum as well as Bitcoin. But it's also kind of seen as the future method for a lot of these blockchains to go ahead and secure themselves and become decentralized. And then finally, the last little piece that makes them unique is just their approach, right? They have the scientific approach where any major change, upgrade that has to happen in Cardano goes up against the governance community and goes through a scientific evaluation. When we start asking the question, how much Cardano do we need to go ahead and retire in the year 2025? First, we have to understand how much money you need in order to retire at all. So I pulled up this article from the Motley Fool, and they said that the average American spends $5,000 every single month paying for their rent, their car, their insurance, groceries, clothing. Now, if we go ahead and we take the 4% rule, which says that when you retire, you want 4% of your overall savings to be able to take out every single year in order to live off of it. What we come to is a total value that we need to get out of this thing of $1.5 million. What I did here, hopefully you can see it all right. What I did here is I scoured the internet and I collected all the different price predictions on Cardano and I listed them in a column here in 2025. In fact, I also went ahead and found the price predictions for Benjamin Cohen, Coin Bureau, JRNY Crypto, as well as Invest Answers, and I have them added in here. Now, on this chart, you can see all those plotted. So what I've done, just to be conservative, is I went ahead and I took the average across all of those, which equates to about $8.08. Now, one quick caveat before we kind of dive into how much Cardano ADA you need to have. This does not include staking rewards, which is currently 4.6% if you're going to go ahead and delegate and stake your Cardano. If we go ahead, we look at the breakdown here. So from a conservative level, okay, if that average price is $8.08, you would need to have 187,000 Cardano tokens right now. That total investment goes ahead and breaks out to around $174,000. If that $8 price point were to become true in the year 2025, you'd be sitting on 1.5 million. You could take 4% out, which would be about $60,000, netting you around $5,000 a month to go ahead and live a carefree life. Now, I also went ahead and put together a bullish scenario. A couple folks that mentioned up to $25 for ADA or Cardano. So if that were the case, you would only need to have 60,000 Cardano tokens, which would cost you around $55,000 right now based on its current price. And then again, in the year 2025, you're sitting on a cool 1.5 mil. And then finally, to go ahead and round this thing out, we take the bearish scenario, right? The lowest price point across all these different researchers, we could see it's $3. So you would have to buy 500,000 Cardano tokens right now at a total whopping amount of $400 $365,000. By 2025, you're sitting on a cool 1.5 mil. Let's talk about some of the potential when we look at Cardano. All right, we have Sunday Swap, which is launching. That's the automatic market maker DEX. That's like Uniswap being built specifically for Cardano. We also have Ardana, which is trying to be like a MakerDAO clone, right? It's going to allow you to mint AUSD stablecoins and unlock a whole bunch of liquidity. That Ardana project went ahead and just raised $10 million back on October 29th. We also have Meld, which is trying to be the Aave on Cardano. So you can go ahead and borrow and lend using your ADA tokens. And Meld in particular had 1 billion ADA or Cardano tokens staked towards it during its initial launch. We've seen a Cardano ecosystem fund come to life. This is back on September 27th, 2021, $100 million to go ahead and lure developers into the Cardano ecosystem to, in essence, give them free money, give them a grant to build and pool total value into the Cardano ecosystem. They are also working on a Ethereum bridge to Cardano, to AGIX, working on a converter to go ahead and bring some of those assets over. They also have a NFT marketplace, which is all the rage in Fibo, that is not live yet, but should be live shortly. So if we go ahead and we zoom out on the Cardano ecosystem, there is a ton of dApps in the waiting for Cardano, waiting for some of these concerns and issues around smart contracts to get resolved. But it seems like it's the calm before the storm, not financial advice. Now, we also went ahead and we've seen that Cardano has been a major hold for a lot of institutional investors. We saw Grayscale, in fact, has it as their third largest holding, at least as of mid last year. So who's going to win, Ethereum or Cardano? Well, my take is that it's going to be a interconnected network. There's not going to be a single winner. Everyone's going to win. As long as they can connect with each other and they can pass funds without too much friction, I think everyone's going to win. Now, we do have to also look at the token supply. So there's a 10,000 million billion, 45 billion max supply of Cardano tokens. But the good news is 33 billion, the vast majority of it, is already in circulation. And Cardano was a little bit unique. They didn't have a whole bunch of private investors come into the protocol early on, and all the vesting schedules that were associated with this are already past us. There is one headwind when you look at Cardano, and that's that since they haven't taken a ton of private money to go ahead and build this thing, they're funding their development by selling their holdings of Cardano. But I would imagine as it goes ahead and launches some of these apps and they actually get up off the ground, that's going to have a smaller and smaller impact on the token price. And then in addition to that, you can see that over 70% of Cardano tokens right now are actually in some form of a staking pool, which is a huge amount. We've also see, this is from Crypto Rank, they had mentioned that Cardano ADA was one of the most developed on cryptocurrencies in all of 2021. Now, if we zoom way out, right, ever since Cardano's launch, at one point it did flash slightly under a 4% market dominance, meaning it had 4% of the total value of the market was locked up in Cardano. And it went ahead and it flashed that just barely again in August at 4.35. And so I think if it was able to do that without having any of these things really up and running, more just based on hype and FOMO, certainly once some of these things begin to launch, there's potential for it to go ahead and appreciate in value. Now, I've also pulled up into the block, and what I'm looking at is two things. One, in and out of the money, right? Anytime you're looking to invest in something, if you can find a cushion, right, where maybe it's oversold, people are panicking a bit too much on something that fundamentally hasn't changed, that could present to you an opportunity to go ahead and buy in cheap. And the other piece of this is the net network growth, which is flashing bullish. So if you dive into those addresses a little bit more, we see in a 7-day period, the active addresses on Cardano has increased 236%. Now, I mentioned this before, but when I go ahead and I try and make investments, I always try and aim for what's called a margin of safety. So a margin of safety is in essence when the price of an asset goes up, right? And then something happens where it goes ahead and it crashes. But you've done your research into the founding team, into the technology, the market fit, the potential, and all that still checks out. But when the price of that asset goes ahead and it drops 50% or more, so you're able to buy in at a pretty darn good bargain. So if we look at this thing, it went ahead and it totaled out around nearly $3, and it's toppled all the way down to 92 cents. The network is growing, dApps are launching. I think there's a lot of potential when it comes to Cardano. So let me know what you think in the comments down below.